Building real lasting confidence takes time. However, here are 5 things you can do today that will help you radiate confidence even when you're under pressure. Under pressure. Alright, now that my singing has scared off most people, if you're still here, it means you're committed to building confidence. I commend you for that. And welcome. I am Michael, and over the years I have built my confidence from like nearly zero until the person you see before you today, who is radiating with confidence, even in tough situations. And some of these things over here are things you can do today that will help you with it. My goal with this video is to hand you over some of the lessons that took me the hard way to learn, so that you don't have to make all the numerous mistakes that I've made in my life. So let's start with this thing, the 2-second rule. And for this, let me give you a mistake that I usually made when I was doing things like a job interview or having a conversation with someone I really look up to. And that is just yapping. Someone in a job interview would ask me a question, and I immediately felt the urge to fill any and all silences. Because I felt like if I was being quiet, even for just one moment, that they would look at me like I'm not good enough and whatever. And the insecurity set in. While in reality, when you can appear more calm, more collected, it actually helps you a lot. So the 2-second rule is simply this. When there is a question being asked of you, instead of just starting to talk, take 1 or 2 moments to get your thoughts together so that you can give a straightforward answer. It is okay to wait for 1 or 2 seconds, hence the name of the rule, to answer. Because otherwise you will start tripping over your words. You start to feel the urge that you need to keep talking and talking and talking, and then you eventually stumble. Whereas if you just took 2 seconds to collect your thoughts, number 1, you appear like you are really thinking through the question, which is true because you actually are thinking through it. And number 2, it prevents you from rambling. So use this. And in some cases, if it's a great question, you can even stall for more time by acknowledging it. So for example, the other day, someone pointed out in a job interview that he thought that this was not the right path for me. And he phrased the question in such a way where I'm like, that's a really good question. That was literally my response. Smile on my face because I actually really admired the question, and then I said so. And that gave me a few more seconds to think about how I wanted to go through in answering the question. So don't have this need that you need to fill every single gap in conversation. You don't. Sometimes, even at a date, it is just better to just sit in silence and let that awkward silence fill up, but by not showing the need for approval, the need for validation, by filling it up, by talking over and over and over again, you actually show confidence. Now, let's start with the second practical thing, which is the doorway trigger. This is something I learned from Jordan Harbinger, and it's simply the following. Of course, body language matters a lot. If I'm standing here like this and I'm slouched over, my knees are like shaking and crumbling and whatever. I'm old, but not that old. If I'm standing here with that kind of body language, it's a completely different video. But the truth is, when we're going through life, when we're just walking out and about, we don't usually think about it, unless we have trained ourselves to do so. And this doorway trigger is a way to actually do that. So,
1 eternity later.
I'm actually standing next to one of my doors, and I've got this thing on it. And every time I open the door, I put the handle down, this piece of paper is right next to it. And it reminds me, check your body posture. This is something that trains you, where if you do this deliberately over and over again, you will start to automatically adjust your body language whenever you walk into a room. So practice this at home. put some like post-it notes or whatever kind of way you can recognize it on the doors in your own home when you can control that environment. Then train yourself, reinforce it over and over and over again until it becomes second nature, and you will start doing it more often as well. Start to remind yourself when you're out and about in the door, even when there's not a post-it note or some other trigger on the door. Remind yourself, okay, I'm walking into the room, check my body language. And as you bring your awareness to it, you start improving it and you start to do it automatically as well. It's kind of like when you were learning to drive a car or ride a bicycle. At first, because you had to do all of these different things at once, it was just a conscious overload. And you had to pay attention to every single detail in order to do that task. However, as you've gotten more competent and your attention has been paid a lot of times to doing it, your subconscious takes over. It's the same thing with this doorway trigger. The more you do it deliberately, the better you get at it automatically. So go ahead, put this into practice today. You can start putting some of your post-it notes on certain doors, and you can start reminding yourself about this inside of your own head automatically when you're out and about in the real world. Moving on to the third thing. Put yourself down the right way. Because there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. People sometimes say that self-deprecation is actually a sign of low confidence. But when done the correct way, it's actually really fucking good and enjoyable for yourself as well. So let me first share with you the wrong way. So let's say you're on a first date and you're nervous as hell. And in order to break the tension, you start cracking a few jokes about yourself that are degeneratory now. What's the word?
One eternity later.
Depreciating jokes, right? You start saying things like, oh yeah, you never would want to be with a guy like me. Something like that. And it comes off as very insecure. However, let's say the date has lasted for a few hours already, you got along very well, and you exit the restaurant or exit the bar, and it's like, shall we go together to my place? That's what she says. And you're like, well, of course, you wouldn't be with a guy like me, right? And you crack a joke, you smile, you show her by your body language that you're just joking. Now it's like a playful tease the right way. So that's something that's very different than you making the jokes the entire time and putting yourself down constantly. When you can joke about yourself in a way where you show that it doesn't actually bother you, it shows confidence. You can't be like making a terrible joke about yourself and then like whimpering. Right? That doesn't actually work because you show that the insecurity is there. And by the way, one thing I'm going to give you with this, because I use this kind of humor myself often, what's often going to happen is you make a joke about yourself and other people are going to one-up you. So be prepared for that. If you're a bit nervous, start out with things that you absolutely hold no insecurities about. So for example, after a first date, I could say something like, for next date, I could go ahead and cook for you. But since my cooking is more like poison, how about we go to such and such restaurant instead? It's a very simple joke. And by the way, I am terrible at cooking. But it shows also in a way that I'm not afraid to share my flaws, to crack a joke about it. And it shows that it's not something that I'm actually care about. So you wouldn't do this with like your deepest, darkest insecurities. That's not something you joke around with yourself. And you shouldn't let other people joke about it either. So if you can do this in a way where it shows you're not bothered by it, and you're not bothered when other people one-up you either, that shows that you are confident in who you are, as well as in who you are not. So moving on to the next thing, lead with this, and that's actually your flaws. I kind of forgot that I didn't fill in the word there before. So lead with your flaws. Here's the thing, let's say you're in a sales pitch, which is a high pressure situation where you want to come across as extremely confident. If you like put yourself up the entire way, like our advertising is the best, we are the best at this, we are the best at this, we are speedy, we are fast, we do a great job, we make little mistakes, blah 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 blah. That comes across as just a regular sales pitch. If you say instead, you know what, we are absolutely not the fastest company in delivering this. We are one of the more expensive ones. However, what we deliver is top notch. You're going to see 2 times the results that you would with any other company. And this, and this. These are the reasons why we are the best. Just because you lead with something that's not very positive, the rest of it becomes more believable on one hand, and on the other side you show that you know yourself, you know your company in this example, and it shows that you are unafraid to also talk about the worst sides. So for example, one of the cringiest things in a job interview would be to say, when asked, you know, what are your weak sides? To take a positive trait and spin it off as if it's a weak thing. You would be way better off to say, hey, I'm not good at this thing. I'm not very organized by nature. However, that means that I am great in a chaotic situation which this job required. Right? You wouldn't say like, oh yeah, I'm a perfectionist, right? I want to do everything great. They heard it 1,000 times and it just comes across as insecure because you're not willing to actually talk about something that is true, something that actually is a flaw or something that you're not good at. So be open, be honest about it, but speak about it in a way where you show that you are not bothered by it. That is the crucial element in appearing confident under pressure. Because if you constantly react to other people, if you constantly look for validation, other people will either consciously or subconsciously pick up on it. If you try to hide your insecurities like that, the only people you will ever fool are those who are like beneath you socially, where their recognition of behavior is just so low that you can easily fool them. However, most people that you want to connect with, they are at that higher level. So you need to step up your game as well. And if you want to build real confidence, confidence that's within you, where you 100% trust yourself, where you get along with yourself, where you actually love who you are as a person, that kind of confidence takes time as well as dedicated effort and practice to put that into place. It took me about a decade to actually build it because I had no one to teach me how it actually works. Which is where you are extremely lucky, my friend. Because what I've done is I've taken those 10 years and I've put them together in a small 3-day bootcamp. That is absolutely free, by the way. So if you want to boost your confidence, which you do because otherwise you wouldn't be here, go ahead, click the link below this video. Get that training absolutely free. And by the way, you can also go to michaelmichiels.com/confidence to get it. But go ahead, click that link below this video. Get the training because you know that you need real confidence in order to achieve your goals, to get shit done. So go ahead, click that link, and let's dive into the 5th thing here, which is to challenge bad behavior and to challenge certain things. So, for example, let's say you're on a date and the person you're with is constantly on their phone. In some cases, people would be like, oh, well, I don't want to call it out, I don't want to be rude. But that actually shows what you tolerate. Because you train people all the time. If you always say yes to every request people make, you train people that it's okay to ask everything because you'll do it anyway. If you set boundaries, you teach people that you have some standards, that you have boundaries. So if you don't call out the behavior, you show that you either are too insecure to say anything about it because you just want to seem like Mr. Nice Guy, or it shows that you don't care about it at all. So when you challenge the behavior, say something like, hey, I notice you're on your phone a lot. Do you not want to be here? Is there something bothering you? Is there something that maybe you're expecting an emergency text or whatever? And just calling it out. Even if you do it once, it shows that you are okay with setting a boundary. As another example, let's say I'm turning up at a job interview on 10 a.m. here. If it's now 5 past or 7 past, I would go up to the front desk. I would say, hey, I've had a job interview here at 10 a.m. It's now 10 past. I'm sorry, but I'm out of here. And I've literally walked out of 2 job interviews that way, where they were 10 minutes late. That's my cutoff line of where I'm drawing the line. If you are this late, I don't respect it at all. And I'm willing to walk away. If you are in any stressful situation, like a first date, like a job interview, like a sales pitch, if you are able to challenge bad behaviors, like I said before, if you are able to walk away, if it's not a right fit for you, or you think it's not a right fit for them, if you're able to say, you know what, this is not going to work out. I wish you the best. You are kind, you are respectful, but you say this is not going to work. The ability to walk away is extremely powerful. And I promised you the 2 bonuses. Number 1 is very simple. I can describe it with 4 letters, which is preparation, right? If you just walk into a job interview unprepared, they ask you a question and you're like, and you stumble over your words. You're constantly trying to reason with things. You will come across as that guy doesn't have his shit together. Whereas if you just did a little bit of practice on the 10 questions most interviews ask, you would come prepared with an answer that you can now calmly deliver. Where you only have to focus on how you're gonna properly phrase it to fit the context of the company, the context of the interview, but you don't have to think about, what am I good at? What are my weak points? Why am I looking for something new? Why is that I'm leaving my old company? If you have already thought of these kinds of things beforehand, it tremendously helps you stay calm under pressure. That's why it's never a good thing to just walk into a presentation you need to give and have no preparation at all, have no notes. If you do that, that doesn't really work, does it? And so even for me, for these videos, I have no script, but I have this outline prepared. To be fair, the preparation was like 10 minutes, because it's a topic I really know. But still, I did some preparation of, okay, what am I gonna say? If I stood here in front of the blackboard and it was completely empty, and it's like, what am I gonna teach about confidence? It would look incredibly stupid, wouldn't it? So just a little bit of preparation, even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that's gonna help you in any stressful situation. It's gonna help you stay calm because you've already practiced it, and it's gonna help you appear more confident because you got your shit together. And as the second bonus, there's something I already shared with you, which is the free 3-day confidence bootcamp, which you can get absolutely free by clicking the link below this video. Or if you've already done that, if you're already in, go ahead, give this video a quick thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.